Hi everyone, Sandra Duran Wilson here, and welcome to this week's Mixed Media Soul Sparks. Every week I come to you with mixed media techniques, painting tips, inspiration ideas, and whatever else we might find in the studio. This week I'm going to be sharing some really interesting effects that I got in this new product. This is coming from Grafix, and it's called Craft Plastic. But don't let that name fool you, because it's very similar to Yupo, which is a type of painting surface that many artists use. And as you can see, people are using it for many different applications. I'm going to be sharing with you both. It comes in both black and white. And this is the size. Let me pull this piece out. And it's got two different sides to it. One has a little more tooth. The other side is a little more slick or glossy. And I'll talk about the effects that you can get using those two different sides. But let me just show you how different paints are going to work on this surface. And here's a couple that I've already been playing around with. And you can see all of these rich layers and textures that you can get. Here's another one that actually has some powders in it. So let me just warn you that these are very addictive to play with and a lot of fun. So let's just get started with a couple of different paint applications. I've got some inks here. And these are from Holbein. I've also got a Holbein titanium white. I've got golden high flow. And I've even got a heavy body paint from Holbein. You can use whatever brands you want, inks. I just happen to be playing around with these alcohol inks. This is actually an acrylic ink by a different company. And I do have some alcohol inks. So let's just throw a bunch of stuff on here and see what happens. That's the way I like to work. And I'm going to be just squeezing stuff out of the tube. I'm going to hear that roller ball in there. That's meaning that it's mixing up. This is a Holbein. And a little of that on there. What else should we pull in? Let's try a little of this ink. If I can get it open. Well, let's try this one. There we go. Now, rather than using a brush, I'm going to use a Deli sheet. And if you can't find a Deli sheet, use a piece of wax paper or tissue or another piece of this. Sometimes I even just pick it up with another piece of this. So let me just show you. It needs a little more water. Let's get it really juicy and flip this around. Now that's where it starts to get fun. If you see me do this before, I call it like squeezing art. But look at all those fun things that are happening. You just never know what you're going to get. So I keep flipping it. I'm looking at what's on the paper already and saying, oh, what color do I want to put over there? Maybe let's just bring a little of this. Some of that. And here's the thing, is you don't throw this paper away, because I've got a class and I show you what to do with all your leftovers. So check that one out for the what to do with your leftovers. Now this is still pretty wet. And I'm going to take some alcohol and just do some little drops on it. And you see how the paint moves away from the alcohol. However, like here where it's really thick, not much happens there. So you get this resist technique when the paint is wet enough and thin enough. And there it was just a little too thick. So let's just take this one that I've already done and let's just stick it on there and start to pick up some of that paint. And now I've got another one going here. And I can really get this moving around. But this paint is already dry, so it's not going to be affected. And look at the interesting shapes I can get. Let's see if I can get a little of this pink in there. Look at what's going on in there. And now if I take a little a little alcohol, and kind of run and let these drip. Now let's try some alcohol ink. And I'm going to put the alcohol ink right into this one. Interesting kind of mixture. It's like the mad scientist at play here. This is a colorless blender for the Holbein. Wow, there's some cool things going on there. You just never know what may happen. So now I'm going to pick this one up. Let this run back over that way. And pick up some of the other color. So you get the idea. I mean, I could stand here and play for hours, but I've got the time. Maybe you've got the time, but Andy doesn't have the time. So, so I'm going to move on to some of the other things you can do with this. And let's go over to the white piece that, let me just try picking this one up. Here is, I've just about covered up the white piece of craft plastic. And yeah, that one's looking really fun. So here I'm just going to work off of this one. I'm just going to make sure I am on, this is the more slick surface. And I'm pressing it into that one and just picking up some color. And you can see how transparent that is, how wet it is. And this is another Holbein color. And this one is Acrylic. I can't see who it's from. I'll tell you in the notes. But it's an ink. Now, of course, you can always paint with a brush on these things, and you can paint realistically. You can use stencils. You can use stamps. I mean, all the things I'm always covering in the other weekly classes. This is a Pearlex medium. Let me just pick up a little bit of this. It's just a wet brush. And I'm going to bring it into the surface here. And you see how it just kind of starts to melt into the paint. Really fun stuff. It looks really nice on top of the black. And one of the things that this black is really great for is using interference paints. And those will give you that kind of reflective quality. This is turning a copper color on top of this black. And in here, depending on what color I'm mixing it with, just dip it in there again. And it just shimmers. So it's like making your own metallic paints. There's so many different ways of working with this. I'm going to just pull in quickly here some of this heavy body metallic paint, another deco art, and I'm going to put it on top of this and start to mix it wet into wet. See where you can get a little closer in, and you can get some very interesting textures and colors. I'm going to bring a little of that over into here, and you can see it really pop on top of that black. So this is just kind of endless how you can play with this, but I got a couple other things I want to quickly show you. And I'm going to put a stencil on top of here, and I'm going to remove some of the paint, because the alcohol, not only does it kind of make it move away from the paint, so when I sprayed those alcohol drops on the wet paint, it moved away. it can actually remove dry paint. So I'm going to spray alcohol onto my paper towel. And let me focus on a larger area, maybe right along here. And so I can begin to remove shapes. Here's a circle or kind of an oval. You might need to keep moving your paper towel around. So you see I can begin to create patterns on here. Let me go over here. And what I discovered that if you're using the side of the craft plastic that was the shiniest or the slickest, it's easier to remove the paint on that side than it is on the more absorbent side. And you don't have to do this perfectly. You see, you can start to get a pattern. And I think that's very fun and interesting. And you can continue to layer on top of these. And these are just a few of the pieces that I've gotten finished. And these were cut from the same piece of the black plastic. And these were some leftover pieces that I then mounted onto a board and continued to paint on top of. I added some of my glass beads and some gels and just really continued to build on the surface. I love this stuff for working on, and it's very easy to adhere it to the panel because it doesn't warp and buckle. So get yourself some of this craft plastic, especially the black. I love it. And if you like the video, click like, share it, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Join the community and share your creations on social. Use the hashtag MixedMediaSoulSparks. I look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section.